What's up, good people? Welcome back to another episode of Undrafted Views. We're here. We talk sports from the sidelines, and today we're going to talk about the Chicago Bulls and answer the question, should the Bucks and the Nets be concerned about the Bulls? Let's get into it.
The Milwaukee Bucks were the 2021 NBA champions, and the Brooklyn Nets have that solid big three. But should both teams be concerned about the Chicago Bulls, who are apparently sitting top of the Eastern Conference and clicking on all cylinders?
They're like, as we speak, they are with 9 wins in a row. The Bulls are killing it. Like, do we label that as a sleeper team? Do we label them a sleeper team? Because I don't think anybody expected them to be where they are right now in the East before the season began. So I say go Bulls. However, I am on the fence. Here I am.
Mm-hmm.
So should the Nets be concerned about the Bulls? Yes. Should the Bucks be concerned about the Bulls? Maybe. And here's why I say yes for the Nets. The Nets have a big three, but that big three have not played consistently season 2 of their coming together. And if you really think about it, the Bulls also, we may not want to say it, but I think they also have a big three. If you really think about it, now that Vooch is kind of running on all cylinders at his new role with the Bulls, we have Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Vooch. And if they are functioning fully and getting it in, I believe that is can be a nice competition against the Nets. And the way the Nets are playing as I'm speaking, anything's possible because the Nets are not really doing, I believe, what they could do because they're losing to teams that they should actually be winning. So I say that for the Nets. Now for the Bucks, my only concern about the Bucks, I don't know if the Bulls long-term or in a 7-game series have a way to stop Giannis. That will be my concern for the Bulls and the Bucks, whether or not the Bucks should be concerned, because the Bucks do have Giannis. And if all the role players on the Bucks perform well, I think the Bulls will be struggling.
Ooh,
just a thought. So we'll see.
Okay, now yes, the Bucks should be definitely concerned about the Chicago Bulls. Now, number one, the Bulls are top seed of the East, won 9 of the last 10 games, okay? They have their two-headed monster in DeMar DeRozan and their depth. I mean, their roster construction and Coach Billy Donovan, the way that he has made them play defense, and they're all willing defenders. You mean Caruso, Lonzo Ball. I mean, they're all in the passing lane. And let's not forget about Ayo and his length and athleticism and youth. I mean, I think the Bucks should very well be concerned about the Chicago Bulls. Even though they are the 2021 NBA champions, the Bucks lost very key pieces in PJ Tucker. They lost their junkyard dog. So when you go up against the Chicago Bulls and you got Vooch in the middle, I don't know. I don't know how the Bucks will fare up against the Chicago Bulls. Now, as it relates to the Brooklyn Nets, I don't think they need to be concerned because when you think about it, the Nets' big three is better than the Chicago Bulls' big three. Do you agree with that?
On paper, yes.
Mm-hmm. So assuming Kyrie plays, assuming James Harden can get back to his MVP Houston Rockets self, and assuming that KD is exactly who he is, who we've seen all season, top scorer in the entire league, leading the MVP votes, leading for the All-Star votes as well. If it came down to it, I have the Nets in 6.
You know what? My only thing about the Nets, it all sounds good. And I know that KD is that beast. But collectively, what I'm seeing right now and how they're performing, and not only that, how their supporting cast members perform consistently, that's where I'm concerned about. Now, do I believe that the big three of the Nets, should they be based off of their experience? Yeah, based off of their success in the past? Yeah, logically, I would say, well, why not? I mean, come on, you think about the Bulls. I mean, DeMar DeRozan. I mean, he may have played in the playoffs a couple of seasons with Toronto, and then you got Vooch, and Zach LaVine is his athleticism is off the chain. But we're talking about collectively going deep and being able
Mhm.
individually on their previous teams to be able to see deep playoff runs. I can't say that about the Bulls' big three individually from previous teams, right? So that would be something I'd be concerned about. I think when you get to the playoffs, experience does matter,
Yep.
right? So I would say that the Nets have an advantage over the Bulls when we're talking about maybe a postseason run. If they find themselves in a series, that their experience may get them over. But the way they're playing right now, and if I'm going to be basing on how the big three is playing right now and the inconsistencies of that we'll see, we could potentially see Kyrie in and out of the lineup, that still is a major concern for me. And I think that sometimes it's just not about the big three. I think we can all say now that you need other pieces on
Mhm.
your roster, especially from your bench, that can get it done. Now we know that the big three, and I don't care, big one, superstar two, three, four, and five, it doesn't even matter. But at the moment they sit down, or the moment their shot is not hitting, because everybody's shot does not hit in the league all the time, I think that depending on where they are in that run, the Bulls could potentially win a playoff series against the Nets. I think so.
Mm.
I'm only saying that because I have not seen it from the Brooklyn Nets yet. That's just all I'm saying. I know what I anticipate. I know what the paper says. I'm just waiting. So once
Mm.
the big
Okay.
three all plays together and the big three from the Brooklyn Nets can win games consistently, as we speak today, then maybe. The only thing that's going to, not only thing, but one of the things that will benefit the Nets in a 7-game series against the Bulls will be their experience. And that may be enough.
Yeah, I know. If you talk about the supporting cast of the Brooklyn Nets, I mean, let's just think about it. Nick Claxton, he's
Hmm.
way too small to contend against who? Giannis? Is he going to stop Giannis coming down the middle? I don't think so. Patty Mills right now is in a shooting slump, but we know he can get hot, right?
Yeah.
And then Bruce Brown and LaMarcus Aldridge. I mean, once you pass the big three of the Brooklyn Nets, it gets a little slim, right? Blake Griffin, it gets a little slim. And that's where I think the Chicago Bulls actually have the advantage.
I think so too. Caruso will be big at that, right? I
Oh,
think he's one of their
huge.
biggest X factors that the Bulls have. Caruso, you cannot knock Kobe White. He is finally in his groove.
Yes.
So Kobe White, if he continues to give you 20 off the bench, like consistently, and he has something to prove. I don't know if you saw when DeMar DeRozan had a conversation with Malika Andrews, and he was like, "Well, the Bulls are playing with a chip on their shoulders." See, that is what I'm talking about. It is that chip, it's that chemistry, it's that consistency. I think that they're really seeing that we're seeing right now with the Bulls, and until the Nets bring whatever we all anticipate together. I'm still talking about what we anticipate has not unfolded yet. Once we see what that looks like, and Kevin Durant ensures that he does not have his toe on the line, anything is possible. So I still believe the Nets should be concerned about the Bulls. That's all I'm
Yeah,
saying.
and we also haven't seen Joe Harris much this season. I mean, he's out nursing his injury. But I tell you what, if he can come back
Mhm.
and find his shot, because he was
Mhm.
kind of struggling
Ooh,
early on,
it was bad.
and even like last season, towards the end of last season, he will help stretch the floor for
Yeah.
KD, Kyrie, and James Harden should the big three play together. So they do have a lot of weapons. That is for sure. So I still don't think the Nets should be overly concerned. I mean, there are a couple red flags that I think are yellow right now,
Okay, let's
but
hear it.
it just depends on if Kyrie can, if the rules change somehow where Kyrie is able to play more basketball games, then I think they'll be good.
Yeah, when we think about Kyrie, I think that he does have an advantage over Lonzo Ball, for sure. However, Lonzo Ball is very lengthy, and he knows how to take a ball away from somebody. And so I appreciate that about his game. Again, Brooklyn Nets show me what I anticipate and what I see on paper. What's been portrayed of how great they are together. I want to see it. And then I can say, okay, they got that in the bag. But right now, I can't solidify that the Nets have it in the bag, and that I believe that if the Nets continue to play the way they're playing right now, the Bulls can potentially sneak a series from them. Yes, so they should. So I
Interesting.
think the Nets should be concerned about the Bulls. Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I think the Bucks should be concerned about Chicago Bulls. Haven't seen Brooke Lopez in the middle, like most of the season, if at all. I know he's out with a
With
bad
a back.
back. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just, the Bucks. They didn't really upgrade much,
They
over the
didn't
offseason.
they didn't upgrade much, but if Drew Holiday can find a way to strong arm Lonzo Ball like he did Devin Booker in that series last season, it's a wrap. Like Drew Holiday snatching the ball. And I think he can probably do the same thing for Lonzo unless he gets some weight up, right? And then if I think about mid-range Middleton, can you imagine? And then you got, Giannis driving. But Zach Levine is really good as well. You know what? That will be a very good matchup. You think if I think about the two, the Bucks and the Bulls, collectively, I'm like, they're about 1-1, can be, but they
Uh-huh.
do have an advantage because they have experience. And sometimes that can get you over, right? And yeah, they're the Bucks depth.
It's slim. It's slim. I
We're
mean,
experiencing that right now because they are not winning games that they should be winning when you have Giannis putting up over 40 points. Those are
mhm.
red flags for me. When you have your superstar putting up over 40 points and then your co-partners can't get it done, you hope that that doesn't show up in the playoffs because then they losing, right? So,
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna show up. The game slows down. Coaches are able to create a game plan specifically for that team. Oh, it's gonna show up. And
another thing that I noticed that gives me pause on whether or not the Nets can um, beat the Bulls in the 7-game series as we're talking now in the season, the standing in the season right now is that the Brooklyn Nets right now are 0-8 on against good teams. They're not
mm,
even winning the games that make them high contenders when we're talking about the postseason. So when you're losing to good teams and these are teams that are over 500, why would I believe that this Nets team right now against this Bulls team right now, the Bulls cannot overpower them or cannot win a 7-game series against them based on where we are right now? So that's what I'm saying.
mhm.
It's all about what we see on paper and what we anticipate and what we know of them individually. I just haven't seen what the Brooklyn Nets can pull together collectively. And that's where I'm like, no, they need to be very concerned about the Bulls because the Bulls can most definitely, if they stay healthy and everybody stays healthy, can most definitely win a 7-game series against the Nets. Yes.
Yeah, that perimeter defense, the Chicago Bulls, that is just unbelievable there in the passing lanes. I mean, if it's not Lonzo Ball, it's Caruso. If it's not Caruso, hey, it might be Io. I mean, it's unbelievable how they're playing right now. The Bulls, I gotta tip my hat to them. I didn't have them being this good. Definitely not number one in the Eastern Conference. I thought the Nets will hold on to it with or without Kyrie, possibly. But wow, I'm really impressed with the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, and they're super fun to watch too. Super fun to watch. Anytime you're able to do a reverse dunk, I'm like, really, Levine? Like, so we're talking about defense is just collapse. They don't even want to try it, and it's just, yeah. So I think that it'd be something to behold. I cannot wait for the postseason. I know it's
Yeah.
soon. I know it's too early, but everything leading up to the postseason makes me so excited. I just can't wait.
Yeah, let's talk about the next 5 games for the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah,
I
let's
mean,
talk
who
about
do they have coming up?
Okay, so I have the next 5 games is Pistons, Nets, Warriors, Celtics, and Grizzlies.
Ooh.
Yeah. The thing about the Bulls already beat the Nets this season. So this is their second matchup. So it's possible. And if Kyrie Irving plays this next game, then it would be a different assessment, right? So if he plays and James Harden play, and then we have KD play, and then everybody plays on the Bulls, I think that would be maybe a true test of what a matchup could be. And again, things can change, but that maybe give us better insight on what that looks like, right? But it has to take Kyrie to be on the court in order for me to really know what a matchup looks like. So I
Mhm.
think they'll be. Hopefully, Kyrie will play because I believe the game is going to be in the United Center, and I think that's in Chicago. So yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Warriors are next, Celtics
Mm.
and Grizzlies. And they
Wow.
also, while we're talking about the Bucks, the Bulls also play the Bucks later on in January. So again, we get another opportunity to see what a postseason matchup could look like when we're talking about the Bulls and the Bucks. So
Yeah, lately teams have been sleeping on the Detroit Pistons. I mean, they've been surprising some folks, and their record is still terrible. But that's a game that the Chicago Bulls need to pay special attention to because that's a game they can relax upon, and the Pistons will come around and get that dub.
Yeah, but one thing about the Bulls, they actually are in a sweet spot. They can afford to lose about 1 to 2 games and still be one top three in the East right now.
Mhm.
Not that they want to. I'm just saying. I anticipate them losing the game coming up. What team don't? They're at a 9 game winning streak right now. If they make that to 15, great. But eventually they will, and it just happens, right? So one team will get the better of them, but they'll still be okay. And that's what's really great about where they are right now and how they're playing, that they can afford to lose maybe 1 or 2 games and still be top of the East.
Yeah, and this has been without Caruso. Wow, that's impressive. So according to the teams that they have coming up, I have the Bulls going 4-1 on this stretch. The only game I had them losing to was the Brooklyn Nets.
4-1. I
Hmm.
have them possibly going 3-2. I only say that because this 9 game winning streak, not that I'm trying to jinx it, it would be unprecedented if they can continue on, which is great. But I do believe that if they're going to the 2 teams that they will lose to, I have it being the Nets and the Warriors. And I say the Nets because Kyrie, although we're previously when I discussed it was a 7 game series, and I had said that I'm waiting for what Kyrie looks like. But I believe if they were to lose a game with Kyrie playing, since they haven't played against Kyrie at all this season, it could possibly, be an upset for them. The Warriors, just don't let the bench start. Just don't let everybody else start up. It's over.
I
It,
mean,
it, just-
Clay
it just
Clay
is.
will be back. I mean,
Yeah, I feel about Clay. I'm excited that he's coming back. I think he would have at least played 1 to 2 games before he plays the Bulls, but I I don't know what we expect him to come back after being off for 2 seasons. I hope it's all that. I hope it's a 4th of July. And then I have them beating the Celtics, Grizzlies, and the Pistons because they've already beat the Pistons twice this season. So
yeah. Yeah, but that's a game I think they should pay close attention to.
I agree, especially because they're on fire right now. So the Pistons, how they felt at the beginning of the season, they're feeling a little different right now.
Uh-huh.
The game that they won. So yeah. So we'll see. But again,
Okay.
anything can happen. This is like what we're talking about. Still in the quarter of the season. We still got a whole season to go. But right now, the Bulls, ooh, they are looking
Yeah,
real
they
good.
looking nice. All right, you guys, we are going to wrap up this episode on whether the Milwaukee Bucks and the Brooklyn Nets should be concerned with the Chicago Bulls. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you drop down in the comments and let us know what your thoughts are, and we will see you guys on the next one. But until then,
Peace.
peace out.